Let's get real. I got cooked. Yes, you heard it right. I got cooked this week. It was FOMC, NFP, and funds rate week. Honestly, the most manipulated week out of all 52 of them. All right, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Lewis, and if this is the first time that you're tuning into my YouTube channel, thank you first and foremost. I'm just a trader who is journaling his trading journey. I am not a guru. I am not a teacher. I'm just doing this for my development, just to track my journey, to track my progress, and to hopefully inspire you or help you through a similar situation that you may be going through. Thank you so much for the amount of support that I've been getting, not only on YouTube, but on Instagram as well. If you don't follow me on Instagram, make sure you follow me on Instagram, since it is my most active social media outside of YouTube. Make sure you leave a like, a comment, let me know how your trading journey is going, and don't forget to subscribe because we are growing extremely fast. 1,000 subscribers is going to be here in no time, and I can't do anything but to thank the man upstairs and thank you for supporting the channel and the community. All right, now that the intro is out of the way, let's get real. I got cooked. Yes, you heard it right. I got cooked this week. It was FOMC, NFP, and funds rate week. Honestly, the most manipulated week out of all 52 of them. And in a weird way, the week where I learned the most. And I know I keep on saying that, but it's the truth, honestly. There's no other way to really put it. Apart from being cooked, literally, I believe that the road to ICT or mastering trading through ICT is becoming a lot more clear. It's crazy to say that, and it's crazy that it's happening on one of the hardest weeks out of the year. That is the best way that I could put it. I feel like I'm learning so much, and I'm starting to understand how trading really works. Either way, even though my executions were very questionable this week, apart from just me, not following my rules and stuff like that, I'm gonna get more into it as we get into the actual charts this week. But let's just say this week was I'm gonna talk about it more, and I'm gonna actually make sure I go back into my journal for this week and really read what my thoughts were throughout the week, especially on Wednesday, which was the big day for this week. Apart from NFP today, Friday. Yeah, Wednesday was honestly one of those days that made me realize that if I don't follow my rules, this whole shebang could be over like that, because it's crazy how real trading gets. And not to say, I've blown my whole account, but man, I took a big hit this week, and it was all my fault. Nobody else is to blame but myself. I can't sit here and blame the markets. I can't blame anybody else but myself, and I'm going to be accountable for that. I'm going to fix the issues that I am struggling with, because I believe that is one of the biggest reasons why I was struggling so much this week. It was just a battle within myself. Apart from, I obviously think that I could always use more time in the markets and learning the core concepts of ICT more, like the basics, just understanding them more in general, which is what I'm working on. Let's just get into this week, and I'll leave everything that I have to say to the actual charts. But yeah, I got absolutely cooked, and if you're expecting not to get cooked during your trading journey, find something else to do, because it's just not realistic. Honestly, it's crazy because my analysis is on point. My analysis is correct to a certain extent. I'll explain that as I get into the actual charts. But what I am having trouble on is my actual executions and not getting stopped out in terms of just, let me get into it and I'll really explain it. It'll be easier to explain it as I'm actually in the charts. But let's get into this week. I got cooked. I didn't win a single trade this week, which is crazy. And the one trade that I would have won, I ended up missing, which is the most annoying part. And it was a big trade as well. So let's get straight into it. Let me just grab something to drink, and we'll see the madness that unfolded this week. I honestly believe it's gonna just get better and better from here on out, and I'm definitely gonna dig myself out of this drawdown, and I'm gonna show at the end of the video what the account is actually at. In terms of just my risk management, I haven't been the best on that, and I'm gonna have to be honest with myself. I need to work on my risk management, my greediness, my fear of missing out. FOMO is crazy when it comes to these markets and how they're booked in terms of just manipulation. But yeah, let's just get into the actual charts. I've said that enough. Let me just grab a quick drink, and then we'll hop right into it. By the way, I know I look good. There's no other way to put it. I'm an absolute specimen of a man. I understand why females act the way they do around me. And if you don't agree, you're just a hater. Can't say nothing else. But straight into business. This was the week that played out in front of us. As I said last week, if I'm not mistaken, I believe since we had reached equilibrium of this range on the daily, that we were going to head lower since the dollar was bullish, which meant that the correlating asset, or inversely correlated asset, that is Euro USD, see, the way that I know that is if you look up here, it has euro first. So it's going euro against the dollar. So if the dollar goes up, euro goes down. So I believed that, which I now know, we hadn't reached a full discount range, which was up here. And as you can see, there is a daily sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency, meaning that only sell side delivery was delivered through this whole candle on the daily. So if the algorithm is going to deliver price efficiently, it has to deliver buy side. So this move down was to rebalance this imbalance, but also to trick people into thinking that we were going to go short for the rest of this week or for the futures, since I do have these lows down here as the draw on liquidity on the monthly, and you can see it here. As of right now, it looks bullish on the monthly, but the monthly is heading down towards these lows down here. And we all know that the higher time frames are traded by big funds, so they're gonna hold all the power. But either way, let's get into how price action actually ended up panning out for this week. Understand that if you do your analysis not only on the higher time frames such as the monthly, weekly, and daily, but on the actual dollar, the dollar index will really help you out. So that's why I moved it up to the top. I'm gonna now just analyze the dollar index from now on and see how to play off of that when it comes to higher time frames or the inversely correlated assets like euro dollar, which is what I mostly trade. And I don't know if I'm gonna trade UJ, but we'll see. Right now I like how EU moves. GU I haven't really been paying too much attention to, but as you can see, dollar bullish, and the way that you can tell is if you go on the daily, price had created this new range from this low to this high. And if I mark it out here, we reach down into the 50%. I'm sorry, I have this fib right here, which is marking my levels for the fair value gap. The 50% of the fib is right here at 105,199, and it dipped below that. And now is gonna, I believe the next week's draw on liquidity is gonna be higher, which is these equal highs, as well with the volume imbalance filling all the way in right here on the daily, and then these levels on the higher time frames, which is a monthly buy side imbalance and equilibrium within the range and equilibrium in the actual buy side imbalance. And by range, I mean the higher time frame range. Like I said, I'm developing a lot, and I know that the losses aren't really helping the fact that I'm developing, but the best losers are going to end up being the biggest winners. So you have to take that into accountability when you get into trading. Either way, it's not going to be win-win-win, especially when you're beginning, until you really understand how everything goes. And until you have a week like I had this week, man, you're really not going to understand what kind of things are possible with trading. And I've submitted to time. Like I said in my last video, I don't care how long it takes, but I am going to master trading. And that conviction is something that's not going to change at all. But let's get back to euro. Before we get back to euro, dollar was extremely bullish, so it was only right for it to create this range and come back down into this imbalance to fill it in before now being allowed by the algorithm to have a higher draw on liquidity above these highs, ultimately these highs, and maybe we'll just have to see fill in this imbalance and these highs up here. But trading, you have to take it as if this happened, then I will do this, and if this doesn't happen, then I won't do this. And I believe that is the best way to do it. So yeah, I believe we can go on the dollar index to take out these recent highs and even these intermediate term highs. I can't say that we're gonna go up here with a great deal of conviction without sounding or being ignorant, because there is too much turmoil going on in the world right now to say something with that much certainty. But these low-hanging fruits, I do believe, could be taken out in the upcoming days. So we'll end up just seeing how things play out. But now let's get back to Euro USD and talk about the week that I had. Since dollar was bearish for this week because I had to fill in those imbalances, it's only right for euro dollar to be bullish. And it's very simple to see now, and I guarantee you that I will not mess up my ranges and analysis, because this week has taught me so much. And apart from seeing it literally through this week, the amount of studying I've been doing is ridiculous. Literally, after I finish recording this video, I am going to import the footage into my computer, finish the clip that I have to upload tomorrow, Saturday, and then study for the rest of the night. That is the type of time that I am on. I am so focused that nothing else really matters. Trading is becoming my lifestyle, and not meaning I'm on the charts 24/7, because I try to really just be on the charts while I am analyzing, setting up for the next day, or while I'm trying to execute a trade during the kill zones. Let's get into this trading week, because it was a good trading week. Monday Monday, here we go. Monday of this week. Monday was pretty interesting because once again, I say I'm not going to trade on Mondays because I want to use Mondays to see what kind of price action we're going to start having for the rest of the week. Once again, I broke my rule, which is what I'm working on, is really staying on top of my rules. It's pretty simple. Just follow your rules. This Monday was actually a pretty good Monday to trade. I just caught the wrong move, and it's funny because I'll just talk about it in this video. But as you can see here, we had the two trades that I took on Monday. The first trade, not mad about. That's the idea that I had. Price action just had a whole different idea. But as you can see here, this is what I had in my head coming into Monday. We came out of Asia, swept buy side of Asia, and came down through London and swept sell side of Asia. So when I came into the market for the New York Open, I noticed that we had this range from this high to this low, since both buy side and sell side had been taken. And I was very patient. I seen that there was a 15-minute buy side imbalance right here, which would have been a discount array according to this range, as you can see, with buy side up here. I just patiently waited for price to come down into this buy side imbalance. Once it did, I took my long position targeting this buy side liquidity and this one right here. These were my two targets. It had a very good reaction after I took my position, as you can see with these two candles, but then it just ended up reversing on me all the way and taking me out, which I was not expecting at all. I thought after I seen this reaction in this next candle that we were going to be certainly at least going up until this high where I could take my partial and then move my stop loss to break even, but it didn't and just kept going down. I said, okay, it's probably just going to be a bearish day, which I was just wrong. It was a more of a search and destroy type of day, but the actual good trade came in this price leg right here. I just called the wrong price. I thought price was going to come up into the sell side imbalance and then keep heading lower. For some reason, I thought last week, since we were inside of the weekly sell side imbalance and we had gotten up here, up above the equilibrium, I thought that was maybe enough for the algorithm to send price lower, but I guess I was just incorrect with that again, and I was, because it came up here, had a good reaction. The next candle, the one after that, had a good reaction lower, but the next candle after that had a good reaction lower as well, but it just ended up reversing on me. And then if I zoom into the 5-minute, what you want to see, especially when you're taking trades like the one I took on Monday, is that you don't want to see price respecting the discount arrays. What I wanted to see was this become inverted and then maybe retracing back up and respecting the inversion fair value gap as a tell sign that the price was going to go lower. But what ended up happening was price just ended up respecting this 5-minute fair value gap, which is very apparent because sweep of liquidity, it ended up creating a BISI buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency, coming down, respecting it, and then heading towards these highs for buy side liquidity. I took my L. I shouldn't have traded this Monday, but as you can see, there was a pretty good trade that ended up forming there. I just didn't take it because I had already lost my two trades and at least follow that part of my plan that day. Now heading on to Tuesday. I believe there was news, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure there was news because as you can see here, this is the trade that I ended up missing on Tuesday. I ended up missing both of these trades. There was this one right here on this candle and then this one as well. This trade right here was in the 1 hour that it was framed, and the other one was on the 15-minute, which I will explain. But I had a sell going into the news on Tuesday. I missed my entry. I can say I hesitated. I can say I looked away and missed when the price went all the way down, sweeping liquidity below the lows that I was targeting. But either way, I can't be mad at it because I didn't win or lose money this day, but I could have had a big trade and an even bigger one after if I didn't do what I'm going to talk about next. This day I had manipulation in mind very much. What I saw is that we had created this range and I thought that we were going to head lower because since I knew that dollar index was bullish, I believe that euro dollar was lower earlier in the week. I was waiting to see if I could see any manipulation, and that is exactly what ended up happening. I saw that we came down into this buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency, reacted off of it, but I thought it was too early still. And then the next candle, it started going up, and then that was exactly the move that I was expecting because I thought it would, if it's going down, it's going to manipulate higher to get people thinking that it's going to go up and then just turn around and burn them, creating an order block right here for this big candle. Literally, I had my finger over the sell button and I lost track of time. I thought I had more time than I did, and I was waiting for price to go a little bit higher, but that was just me being greedy, which is the best word to really phrase it, because if I would have took my position there anywhere within this candle, I would have caught this whole move down, and it would have really not mattered that it went up a little bit more. But that is the trade that ended up showing up for me, or that I ended up missing. But after that, we had this beauty pop up, which was the 1 hour balance price range fair value gap entry that I ended up missing because for some reason earlier this week, I know now that this is not a fact and this is through experience. For some reason, I thought that after news, that was all the volatility and all the movement that we would get in a single trading day, and that was just completely wrong. Or I guess that's the experience that I have had beforehand, because my thought process was that if I missed the move on the actual news, which introduced the most volatility into the market, then that price action was just going to be dormant for the rest of the day. And this day itself just goes to show that that is not the case, because if you could see here on the 15-minute, while we were doing all of this, I wasn't even looking at the charts. I said, okay, the move for today is done. I missed it. I'm off of the charts. But as you can see, another trade, which was even bigger than the one that I was planning, ended up setting up, and I was targeting, and I could have targeted these lows down here. As you can see, it would have been a little bit later in the afternoon, but hey, that is the price that I pay for giving up on the charts after that move. But if I would have been on the 1 hour, I could have seen that we had this buy side imbalance, which ended up flipping and becoming inverted, creating a balanced price range right here. Throughout the white square is a balanced price range, meaning buy side delivery and sell side delivery. Price ended up coming back up into it, tapping it, just touching it with the wick outside of the box, and then reversing for sell side. And I ended up missing it because I gave up on the charts on that day, but I'm not mad. That's just how it goes. I took accountability for that, and I now understand that I have to still pay attention to the charts after a move if I don't trade the actual move itself at 8:30, because trades can still develop after that. You just have to be aware and paying attention. Let's move on to the golden day, which was Wednesday. Man, what a day. So my thought process on Wednesday was that we probably had formed the high of the week with this high, and then we were going to head lower for the rest of the week. Not understanding that we hadn't gotten into a full discount yet, or gotten up to fill in this imbalance on the daily, which I knew was there. For some reason, I was just disregarding it. I thought that this move above equilibrium was enough, when it clearly wasn't, because it went up to rebalance this. And I don't think that the algorithm would have left this sell side imbalance without at least coming up and trying to rebalance it. I was looking at the 4 hour. I had seen that we had all this down movement and had a sell side imbalance right here. So you guys can see this candle's low and that candle's high. I'm just gonna mark it out for you. I'm gonna change the color because I usually have it as purple, but there's already a purple one on top of it, so there's no point of leaving it the same color. All right, so as you can see, there's this buy side imbalance on the 4 hour. What I was expecting was price to come up into this buy side imbalance and then reverse lower, going for these lows down here. That is the furthest thing from the truth. But what I ended up getting cooked on every time was sell side liquidity from Asia was taken. We had risen up through London and New York. What ended up getting me was, I believe I entered around this candle at 9 once we had reached the sell side imbalance, and then it had a good reaction lower at first and then came back up, creating this candle coming up, taking me out of my initial trade. Then I had FOMO of missing the move because I thought that that was just the manipulation move up to then take out liquidity, since it was a higher time frame. And I've realized that if you're taking a trade off of a higher time frame, usually once you get into the range that you believe price will respect, it will get up into it and then generate liquidity, manipulate above that liquidity, engaging buy stops, and then moving lower. So that's what I thought was gonna happen here. So I re-entered the same candle, and then it ended up coming back up, and spread took me out. Then it came lower, and I thought, okay, let me enter again. And I think I might have entered on the lower time frame, if I'm not mistaken, that day. Yeah, I think I got in right here and put my stop loss above this high or near this high, and then spread took me out again, and I was just done with it at that point. And then it started coming down. I forget what exactly happened, but at this point it had came up, then dropped down, and I had thought that for some reason the news was gonna save me. And if the news did save me, it would have paid out, but it didn't. So I placed my last position right before the news candle. I believe I placed it right here, something like that. If it wasn't a higher time frame, if it wasn't the 15-minute, I might have placed it here and then have my stop loss above this high after we got into this sell side imbalance. And as you can see, price manipulated lower and then lower one more time and just took off with FOMC. And FOMC, only trade FOMC if you are experienced enough to actually do it. A lot of the guys in my trading groups ended up killing FOMC, and the first 30 minutes from 2 to 2:30 are usually the manipulation move in FOMC. So as you can see here, meaning that it's going to manipulate in the wrong direction and then it's going to take off in the opposite. And that is coming from people who are very experienced at trading in FOMC. I'm not telling you to go trade FOMC if you're a beginner, because you will get cooked. Yeah, I was just incorrect on bias. Like I said, if I would have been paying more attention to the higher time frame and seeing the dealing range, I could have expected price to draw higher, because we had that sell side imbalance up here that we had to take care of before we see lower prices, or before we can expect lower prices. Yeah, that is what what ended up happening. In terms of Wednesday, I took 4 positions, which is completely outside of my trading plan. On, I believe, 3 of my positions, I was over leveraging. And on my last position, I was betting on news to save me because I thought that if it went in my direction, it would have covered the losses that I just endured and then some. And that is just a toxic way of thinking when it comes to trading. Don't ever get overconfident. Don't ever over leverage. Don't ever over trade. Stick to your plan, stick to your rules, and protect your capital at all costs. That is the biggest lesson that I took this week. Trust me, because, and I said to myself, honestly, on Wednesday that I was going to be done trading for the week. And do you think that I was done trading for the week? Hell no. And that is bad because I had just lost, on that day, I had lost 4% of my account trading on Wednesday. All due to me. I can't blame anybody else but myself, but I still did it. And this is the monstrosity that I was planning on taking on Thursday. As you can see here, I took it on the 5-minute. I was mindful of the range that we had formed, and it was honestly this right here. This was the range that I was taking the trade on. I believe that price would have, if we were going to go lower, which like I said, we weren't going to go lower because there was a sell side imbalance higher that we had to go up to rebalance, which would put us in a discount on the higher time frames, which doesn't make so much sense. Price was going to end up going higher before it went lower, but Thursday ended up playing with me because it went lower just to go higher. I need to be able to see that more in this because the next trade, I'll talk about it, or the next opportunity that I ended up missing. I only took 1 trade on Thursday, but once again, I ended up not understanding what was happening. So I was paying attention. We were getting very close to news, and I saw that this was the news candle on Thursday. It ended up going down, sweeping sell side liquidity, creating this big candle up, and then going up one more time with this candle after that, creating a buy side imbalance. That is where I took my position once we got into it. We came into here, I seen that we had a sell side imbalance up here on the 15-minute, which I thought maybe this was close enough for the algorithm to bounce off of that and then go down. Maybe I thought the market was just heavy and we were just likely to see lower prices. So I took a buy position after that, thinking that we were going to go higher. And that was solely off of trading with no bias this day because honestly, I saw ICT say something about it, talking about trading with no bias during NFP week because it's so heavily manipulated. But at the end of the day, you need to understand where price is heading either way and where it came from. I was expecting higher prices up in here since we had just manipulated lower and took out sell side. This was the manipulation move at the moment, which was to come up here to trap people on just to take them lower and then later on going higher. Came into this buy side imbalance. I took my position here. I targeted these two. It ended up becoming inverted. And what did I do? Didn't pay attention to the inversion of that fair value gap. And as you can see, the next 2 candles ended up playing off perfectly. This was already in a balanced price range. Price came up into it and then went lower, where I could have targeted easily, this low, these lows right here, and maybe even into this imbalance. I didn't get down to this low, but that's all right. So then, no, I did take a second position. My second position was when price came into this sell side imbalance. I have flipped my bias. So you can see part of trading with no bias. I don't know why I did it. And I'm being honest with you guys. I had a horrible week this week, and I'm going to do my best to get out of this drawdown that I've put myself into. But what I noticed was that the sell side imbalance was actually on the 15-minute, which is this one right here. These 2 candles, I'm going to mark it out again in that color. This was the sell side imbalance. I was expecting price to come up into the sell side imbalance and then just drop off. And this is what actually ended up happening, which I should have noticed. We ended up coming down, sweeping these lows. And like I said, what you don't want to see is price. If you go into the lower time frames, after price touched the sell side imbalance, it ended up going down. And I'm like, okay, maybe I got the move. I'm on the right side of the curve. That is not what happened because price came down, respected this discount array, which was a buy side imbalance, and then took off, and that is where I marked the trade that could have been, which I didn't take. As you can see here, ended up playing out. It would have been a very valid trade, honestly, because almost a 6-to-1 RR. I ended up missing out on this because I wasn't paying attention to what was really going on, and I believe I just ended up quitting after that trade and not realizing that. Well, I did realize it, but it was a bit too late. But as you can see, we had a consolidation near the midpoint of the range, which signifies that this was just a market maker buy model. battle. As you can see, there was a consolidation at the 25, there was a consolidation at the 50, there was a consolidation at the 75, and then the terminus. Yeah, that's the trade that I ended up missing. And then now let's get on to Friday, because Friday was very interesting. Friday, another day where I said I wasn't gonna trade. Literally last night, today is Friday where I'm recording this. Last night I was journaling and I said I'm not gonna trade tomorrow. I'm just gonna watch the price if anything. And if you think I did that, you're completely wrong. I believe that the better trade was on GBP USD because it melted down a lot more before this did. And as you can see, we had news which was non-farm payroll, and that was just price going up into the sell side imbalance, which if I was paying attention and was actually willing to take the trade, I would have won this trade because sell side was taken from Asia. We started going higher. We had this higher time frame imbalance here with big news coming out. Then we come in here and form this buy side imbalance, which I would have took my entry from. Probably would have had my stop loss either at the midpoint of this candle right here or under that low, and then targeted the 25% of the range or getting it all the way up to consequent encroachment of the sell side imbalance. Winning trade, didn't take it. I was asleep because I said I wasn't going to trade this day. So what do? This news at 10 again. I'm still watching price. I hadn't taken a trade up to this point. I'm watching price, and what do I see? See the sell side imbalance form after this news candle goes all the way up, sweeping buy side, and then comes down. Said, okay, draw is lower. I hop into the 5-minute chart. I see that there's a 5-minute BISI right here, which price ended up respecting. As you can see, then took off, came all the way up here. I saw it stop. I said, this candle is going down. It just looked like a manipulation candle, but I was like, I'm just gonna wait. I'm not gonna trade. Started coming down, ended up closing lower. And then we go into the 15, and then forms this sell side imbalance, which I marked out right here. And then I try to execute, but I executed way too early. My problem was that I said I'm gonna allow myself to trade, but only if we get into this 5-minute order block, which is these 3 consecutive up close candles. The reason I say that is because we had this resistance right here at this 5-minute SIBI with the bodies of the candles respecting. I said once it touches this range, I am going to take my trade and place my stop loss at the high of the 5-minute order block. What did I do? Not that. I saw price come up here and stop right there, and then start heading lower. I said, man, I don't want to miss this trade. I saw price come up here, go lower, and I said, man, I don't want to miss this trade, which is just FOMO, honestly, because if I would have waited until it got to the spot, which I said I was going to allow myself to get into a trade with, I wouldn't have lost this trade because I would have had a good RR and kept my stop loss at a good point. Either way, as you can see, it's going to probably head down there because the higher time frames are now pushing price lower, but all this consolidation, I probably would have closed out either way if I was still in this trade, but I don't hold trades for over the weekend. But as you can see, yeah, I colored outside the lines a bit. It still respected the order block. Price just ended up going lower. Either way, I took one entry down here, which I thought was extremely early, and I got angry at myself because I said I wasn't going to put a trade on or a position on until it reached that red line, which was the opening price of that order block. I broke my rule because of fear of missing out on the move, and I ended up getting in too early, getting stopped out. So then after that, it comes up, and with spread, it put me, if I'm not mistaken, like right there, and I didn't want to risk too much because I once again didn't cut down on my position size, which would have cut my risk in half and didn't allow me to put my stop loss all the way up here because then I would have been risking too much. Price comes up, stops me out with spread, ended up losing. Then I saw it turn around and I was like, maybe I could still get it in this move, but I had already lost. I said, no, today I'm not gonna mess up my rules. And honestly, the only reason why, no, I ended up closing it early. It wasn't spread that took me out. I closed it early, but it was not, my stop loss was not at the top wick of that fair value gap or order block, which it would have stopped me out if I didn't, because I believe I had it a bit lower. I ended up losing 1.4% of my capital today, which is actually within my rules. Like I said, I go in risking 1% on my actual positions, and then if I lose my first position, I go in with 0.5% as my next trade. The only reason why I stayed within those rules was because I cut the trade early, but if I would have just waited and managed my position better to the point where I could have had my stop loss above that high without risking too much, then I could have just watched this trade play out, because I honestly believe that next week, I mean, we'll probably start the week going higher a little bit and then just start going lower depending on how the economic calendar looks next week. I haven't looked at it yet, but yeah, it's been a pretty tough week. Yeah, I've been cooked. I was cooked this week. I lost every trade on every day that I entered. And it's not easy coming in on YouTube and saying that, especially since I had those 2 weeks where I was almost 3 weeks where I was literally in a hole and I was just lost. I was just losing trades back to back to back to back. I had gotten myself into that drawdown, and slowly but surely I was bringing myself out of that drawdown with, you know, bringing my position size lower until I got back to my break even, and then from there go back to my regular sizes. Now I'm deeper in the hole. I have to work harder for myself. I have to battle myself more, win against myself more, study my patterns more, study my risk management more, preserve my capital, and enjoy the process. I'm not gonna sit here and beat myself up because I know that this is part of the process and I've already submitted to time, so this is just something that I have to go through. Especially on a week as impactful as the week that we just went through, I have to hold myself accountable and battle myself. There's nobody else that's doing these mistakes but me. There's no other way to put it. I'm gonna work extremely hard to get back, and I'm not gonna quit on it. I have something coming up, like I said in my last video, which I'm very excited about. I'm gonna save it for whenever it does happen, well, at least whenever it becomes public to you, because it's already happened. But I'm gonna save that, and all I'm gonna say is that I'm not gonna quit on this account. I'm still gonna fulfill my mission of turning $1,000 into $10,000. It's just that I'm battling the newbie stuff as a trader. I've only been trading live for 5 months. I just 5 months 2 days ago. So this is stuff that I have to go through, and journaling has become the best tool, the best weapon that I've gotten, and seeing the data on paper just makes it so much clearer. Trading has to get to a point, or at least I've heard from more experienced traders than myself, that you get so tired of breaking your rules that you lock the fuck in. You lock in so hard that you don't break your rules anymore, and that is what I need to do. There's no way around it, especially when I'm keeping myself accountable through my journaling and through you, because you have to keep me accountable. And it's not easy getting on YouTube saying this, but I hope that you appreciate my authenticity, because I don't care what anybody else has to say. I know who I am. I'm a fucking beast, honestly. I am, outside of what's been going on this week. But everybody else on YouTube or people on social media in general would rather be perceived as profitable than actually be profitable. And the only way that I can be profitable, which I believe is the most important out of the two, the only way that I can be profitable is the habits and trusting the process that I'm going through. I don't believe that I'm going to master trading in 5 months. It's just not something that's very realistic, and I don't have a time frame. I'm just gonna keep working my ass off until I master this. But I've been talking, I'm exhausted. I'm gonna finish this video, transfer the footage, and then start studying for the rest of the night until I fall asleep. Honestly, make sure you follow me on Instagram, make sure you follow me on Twitter, TikTok is in the description, and make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend who's going through these same battles that I'm going through, because we need a community. Leave in the comments how your trading week has went, especially this past week, or just how your trading journey is going in general. Everything happens for a reason, and I know that for a fact. I'm gonna master trading. It's gonna be very interesting in the future once I am profitable, and once I master trading, just looking back and seeing what I was struggling with, and that is the whole point of this series. But either way, I've been talking too much. This video is gonna be too long. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.